Badeucey is a hybrid of deuce to seven, triple draw, and Badoogie, as I mentioned earlier. Each player is dealt 5 cards. There are 3 draws in which each player can discard as many cards as he likes. There are 4 rounds of betting before the first draw, after the first draw, after the second draw, and after the last draw. It's a split pot game in which half goes to the best deuce to seven lowball hand and half goes to the best Badoogie hand. So if you're not familiar with the deuce to seven, the nut hand is 7-5-4-3-2 with no flush, so flushes count against. And in Badoogie, you're trying to make a hand of 4 different suits. And in the Badeucey version, the nut Badoogie is 5-4-3-2 rainbow, whereas in regular Badoogie, it's 4-3-2 ace, and that was also the case in Badeucey. So just something you have to be mindful of when playing the 2 games, and it makes sense for obvious reasons. I mean, if the nut Badoogie were 4-3-2 ace, it would be impossible to scoop pots. I mean, there would just be so many chop hands, and it would. I mean, there already are a fair amount of chop hands, but it would just the game just wouldn't play as well. And the way the Badoogie hands work also is if nobody has 4 cards of different suits, then the best 3-card hand would win. So, for example, 4-4-3-2 is a better hand than 5-3 than 10 of spades, 5 of spades, 3-2 with 3 separate suits. And some basic strategy tips. It is important to play hands that can scoop, with the exception of very strong triple draw only hands. For example, 7-6-5-3-2 with only 2 different suits and draw smooth. So there are, I mean, with the hands that can scoop, I mean, the pre-draw requirements for Badeucey are a little bit more relaxed than one would, one especially coming from triple draw would think. It plays a bit more like Badoogie, where there are a lot of hands in which you only have 2 good cards that you can draw 3 to. I mean, a hand like a 2-3 offsuit with 3 random high cards is just a hand that should almost never be folded, if ever be folded pre-draw. And even stuff like a 3-5 offsuit is generally playable in most spots. But yeah, I mean, it's important not to be just drawing one way, basically, or I mean, just trying to hang on to some weak Badoogie. Like, I mean, there are, like, in heads-up pots, that can be part of the strategy, which I'm getting into this too, actually. I guess I might as well read my second point. Especially in heads-up pots, semi-bluffing with hands like a jack-jack, which a jack-jack just means it's a jack for triple draw and for Badoogie. Or deuce to 7 and Badoogie, I guess, is often the best play, since you can frequently force better deuce to 7 hands to break or sometimes even fold. So yeah, I mean, the idea here is when you're padding a 5-card hand, it looks quite strong, because a lot of those 5-card hands you're padding are stuff that like the hand above here, where, I mean, you have a made 7 but no Badoogie chance, or sometimes like a made 8 with a good 3 card, or a made 8 or like an 8-8. I mean, which is a very, very strong hand, but anyway, most of the hands in your padding range are going to be strong deuce to 7 hands, and this can cause opponents to make a mistake against your exact hand, even if it's the correct range play, and break hands like a 9 low ball hand to be thinking they need to keep trying to beat it. So a lot of the art of Badeucey is figuring out when you should be breaking and when you should be drawing, and it takes a lot of knowing your opponents and their tendencies to be able to make the right decisions here. I swear I wasn't even looking at the slide when I was saying that, but yeah, my last point: much of the skill in this game involves knowing when to stand pat and when to draw. It takes lots of practice. I'm certainly not an expert at it, but I have played a fair amount of Badeucey and Badeucey over the last few months to a year, and I'm a lot more comfortable now than I was then. When I first started playing, I just didn't have a clue, and now I'm gaining a lot of understanding of ranges. But like any other poker game, it takes practice, and certainly some work away from the table would be very helpful as well. So just briefly, the adjustments for Badeucey, which I already touched on a little bit. Straights and flushes do not count against you. So that is a major adjustment. And then the nut lowball hand, 5-4-3-2 ace, nut Badeucey hand, 4-3-2 ace rainbow, and hand values must be recalibrated accordingly. So, I mean, there's no standing pat with a Jack-Jack and Badeucey, for example. The equivalent of a Jack-Jack would be like probably a 9-9 or something. So, yeah, I mean, it's just important to, again, you have to make those adjustments, and some work away from the table and experience are really the ways to do that.